Hello, and welcome to an IDW Creator Spotlight. I'm David Mariotte, editor at IDW, and today I'm talking with Scarenthood co-creator Nick Roche.
That's me.
You may know Nick from his many credits, including Transformers, specifically the Wrecker Saga, Spider-Man, and Monster Motors.
All the comics anyone ever needs. Those are your three main food groups there. Haunted vehicles, power / responsibility, transforming robots.
Yeah. So Nick, how many superheroes and vehicles who do amazing things are there in Scarenthood? I assume a lot.
How quickly do I get cut off depending on this answer? We can lie to the people, can't we, and tell them there's lots in there. I have let my following down. There are zero superpowered people. There are no robots. Are there haunted vehicles? I mean, that's the one that's most likely to be in Scarenthood. But I can say that now that I will not answer that question. that might grab that Monster Motors, the big Monster Motors following into Scarenthood. No, it's quite a departure from everything else I've done so far, and it's like a departure from, like, if you'd asked me, hey Nick, do you want to do a create your own book, I'm pretty sure it would have had robots and superheroes in it, and possibly time travel, maybe a spaceship, and this has got, again, so far.
Oh, good. So if it's not about those things, what is it about?
I mean, if it's not about those things, what else can it be about? It's about a group of parents of preschoolers who go ghost hunting in the mornings, but we've got to be back to collect their kids by lunchtime. So it's kind of born from like my kind of current life, where you kind of send these kids to school in the morning and you find you've got this time, and I use it to work. But there's always that niggling thing in the back of your head going, I don't have to go to work. I could go somewhere else. I could do anything I want. I could go back to bed. So kind of that sort of level of sort of that newfound freedom I had once my kids became of kind of school going age again. I started asking myself those questions, and I found myself that apart from going to work, my time was usually taken up with chatting to the other lovely parents who probably found me as deathly boring as maybe I found some of them, because all we talk about is, where's the best place to go for swimming lessons? Does your one have peanut allergies too? And the house prices on the Dunmore Road are terrible. And that's just not what I thought being a grown-up was going to be about. And so I kind of imagined us doing more exciting things. By exciting things, I thought about ghost hunting. And then I kind of realized that I had an idea for a comic on my hands that had no spaceships or robots in it.
A lot of Scarenthood is about sort of the expectations of what we do as adults, the expectations that we have for kids, and frankly, the expectations that we have for, spooky stuff. So talk a little bit about like where your expectations are for the series and like what we can expect to see.
It's about the kind of horror that I suppose I felt ever since becoming a parent, of like, oh my God, I'm responsible for these children. And things like, oh my God, I need to remember when to go pick them up. And oh my God, I've just come home from town, but I forgot to buy the things I needed to buy to feed them, and all this sort of stuff. So there's that level of kind of horror there, which is relatable, obviously, to parents, but I think it's relatable to anyone. It's relatable to pet owners. You know what I mean? It's anyone who's kind of got any other living life form that like depends on you, or if you've ever depended on someone else as well, that level of like that gossamer thin thread of this could all go horribly wrong any second. And it's that level of kind of expectations. As far as the spooky expectations, I kind of found, just by being Irish, it sort of feels almost like that my generation might be the last maybe to feel this, because our country's become, thankfully, a lot more enlightened. But when I was growing up, there was a little bit more of the fire and brimstone kind of going on. I remember being in school once, and every school would have like a chaplain, have a priest that would come in and spend some time with you. And our usual one wasn't around, and so a different one came in, a stranger we never met before. Like, I was 8 years old, and just told us all to be quiet, and was like, okay, can you hear that? And there's a clock in the classroom, and you can hear the ticking of the clock. Can you hear that? That's what it sounds like in hell. And like that's, you know, you're 8 years old, and so so you've got that. You've got like, well, hell. Okay, so hell's a given. Okay, we know that. There was lots of satanic panic and stuff in like newspapers and stuff when we were that age, kind of, you know, of like devil found in wardrobe. So it's like, okay, so the newspapers are reporting that, so that's true. And even just there was just enough of the kind of the folklore from the old days. So there's kind of the Catholic sort of kind of scaremongering going on of the devil will get you. Along with, you know, kind of just the general sort of hauntological feel of the place. And so that's kind of something I've tried to kind of bring across in Ireland. It's not, you think even when you kind of go back to the Irish myths and legends, I always say that they're good. They're good, but they're not as big budget as Norse mythology or Greek mythology. And I know I'll be like, you know, run out of the country for saying that, but they're not. They're a little bit more lower. You know, the drama, the sort of the familial drama is there, but maybe the visuals are a bit low stake. And I think that's a bit what Scarenthood is. It's all about the stuff that's kind of the unseen stuff, the unseen terrors. But you know, a lot of people have asked, is that, you know, there's genuine supernatural stuff in it, and there is. It's you know, like this, it gets kicked off when an entity is disturbed underneath the village hall in Scarenthood by these idiot parents who didn't want to help their kids go on a field trip, so they stayed behind and played double dare, basically. Find themselves in this old building where there's like a local legend, and kind of through their hubris and through their just wanting to be something just different other than dropping off the kids, picking up the kids, going to get coffee, going to work, minding the house, they just do something irresponsible, and it kind of ends up, you know, casting a shadow over their whole group.
Which one actually scares you more? Fighting demons and supernatural entities, or dealing with your kids? And more importantly, letting them down.
Well, I mean, only one of those things is likely to sort of like hover through that door any second. So it's the real life one. I'm desperate to see a ghost. I'm desperate to get a day off from the kids. So it's kind of, if I could get a day off from the kids and go see a ghost, that would be great. That's not true, because that's the thing. Like I'm lucky. Like I'm married, and like we're co-parenting here, and especially at the moment, which is with work and stuff like that. I mean, my wife has been doing, you know, most of the minding and stuff. So my fear is still just like being a bad dad. And I had a good dad. You know, it's not like I'm one of these people who are kind of like affected by having terrible parents, and I don't want to repeat the sins of my father and stuff. Like maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's like, he was a pretty good guy, you know. I think he would have handled this better. He definitely would have put up more shelves than I would by now. So if that's the measure of the man, and maybe it is. So no, it is. It's letting them down. I think it's kind of. I mean, obviously the main fear is the Venn diagram of both. It was when a demon is causing you to neglect your kind of parental responsibilities. Is that a topic in Scarenthood? Read it and find out. Yeah, it's a weird one. I wish, just being an adult, I found it's just being just realizing that you're I don't know, you're not as special as you thought you were. That you know, that you're frightened of the same things that everyone else is frightened of, and you're just like, of course I'm frightened of, like, you know, not providing for the kids, or not being there, or not being present for them and things like that, you know. And it's just like, I kind of thought that at least the worry wouldn't be there. At least, you know, you think that, like, you know, you wouldn't have that to kind of like be buzzing like a wasp in the back of your head. But I do. And if I didn't, you wouldn't have Scarenthood.
Have you put much thought into the fact that all of your interviews about the series are going to live online forever, and one day your kids will be old enough to read them or watch this?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I do think about that. I see that with like comedians and things like that. You sort of see that, you know, they're using their kids as kind of material, basically, and you know, you're gonna find out what your dad or your mom did or whatever. No, I'm pretty open with them. I mean, maybe that's why I'm worried about being a terrible father, is because I'm openly you know, mocking their very existence in every interview I've done, and here now sort of going, you know, but they're a good bunch, and it's weird. They've kind of grown, like, with kind of Scarenthood. My little girl, who's now 7, she was kind of like the basis for kind of Scooper, who's like roughly around 3 or so in the book. But like she my little girl is like a big, tall 7-year-old now, and so my little boy is 5, but he's still on the short side. And so when I'm taking like reference photographs for the comic or whatever, because I this is something I didn't think of. So it's much easier to draw giant robots punching each other, like with car doors hanging off their arms and like, you know, wings and all that sort of stuff and explosions and making up cityscapes, than like drawing pictures of like holding kids kind of acting and interacting in a scene and making sure the kid stays and the weight is there. So I've done a lot of I did lots of reference pictures, and so it's so like the little girl is based on my daughter, but then my little boy has been my photo reference for her for a lot of the pictures, and they've contributed artwork for the comic. Anytime you kind of see like any kid's artwork in the book, it's theirs or whatever, you know. And so cause some of it takes place in a play school, so you see their artwork. But even then I'm finding myself like hating them because they've got 25 years head start on me, you know. Like it's like it took me ages to get going like in comics, you know, and they're like 5 and 7 getting their credits. So yeah,
well, it sets them up for a good future, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are lots of people who grew up with comic creators in their household and ended up well adjusted.
That's true, but I do want to hear that podcast. I want to hear that episode of Comic Book Kayfabe. I think that's the one where we really get to the meat and potatoes of it. So, yeah. Like I talked about it recently with Stephen Mooney of Half Past Danger fame, and he was asking like, would I encourage the kids to get into comics and stuff? Because he was saying he wouldn't. He was just like, no. I was just like, it's kind of it's a dream job, comics, isn't it? But then obviously there's two parts of that phrase, dream and job. And some days it's more of a job than others, but at the same time, you know, look, this is what you wanted to do. And I've gotten way more good out of comics, and like I just can't believe I get to make up stories, you know. And it can be obviously, you know, it can be hard, and you know it can be hard with me, you know, like it's you have to sort of hear my existential howls from across the ocean. But I like the fact that they can say, our work appeared in a comic. It's been weird because they've been growing older as I taking my time to finish Scarenthood and stuff, and it's like it's seeing them get more and more. It's weird. The older they get, the more scared they become of the stuff I'm working on. So, and obviously because of the later scenes that in the series, it becomes a lot more intense, visually more intense. There's a lot more maybe obvious supernatural things happening or whatever. And there's one morning recently where my daughter woke up one morning and like she kind of wouldn't go down the stairs on her own because my workroom door was open, and the work from the drawing board was there the other night, and it was one of the last few pages from issue 3, and she was like, so yeah.
I was talking with Sean Lee, our letterer, the other day, and part of
our award-winning letterer.
Mm-hmm. If we haven't mentioned it yet, the team is, of course, Nick, Sean, and Chris O'Halloran, who provides amazing colors on the book.
He's ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
Sean was talking very complimentarily about the book and thinking very highly of it. And exactly, he's like an award-winning letterer. He's a smart guy. He knows what's good. So
well, he is, and like I'm verbose here, but like equally on the page, and it's. Luckily I kind of draw my own scripts because I've got a good sense of, hopefully some of the time, how to balance out where the balloons are going to go with the art. But like Sean doesn't have an easy job to do, and he's doing an amazing job on it. And he's interpreting it, the text brilliantly. It's not in a dialect that Sean is probably used to, and I'm so glad we have Sean. I'm so glad because he put so much thought into it. Like letterers do, good letterers do that. I'm just not sure if everyone knows that, but when you work in the industry, you realize that it's not to be taken for granted. Equally with Chris, the colorist, Chris O'Halloran, it was important that I worked with someone from Ireland just for the visuals shorthand of, Chris and I both know what like an Irish Scout Hall looks like, or a forest in autumn looks like, and it's and he's just, since kind of he agreed to do Scarenthood with me, over about 2 years ago now, since we kind of teamed up, he's kind of become Chris O'Halloran of comics. He's worked for every publisher now, and I've seen editors just go gooey at the mention of his name, rightly so. But I'm just really glad, and especially just because obviously in the timeline here we've just kind of put issue 3 to bed. We spent a bit of time with Chris's colors, and it's just so good. It's so good. I mean, and that those some of those pages were the ones that like my kids were looking at me when I was seeing the PDFs. Maybe I should have a bit more of a separation between church and state here, but but I just remember that page. There's that page turn in issue 3, and we all just went whoa, and it's Chris is just puppet mastering the mood and the atmosphere with it, So I'm very, very lucky to have Chris and have Sean and equally you. I mean, if this is my Oscar speech, David, maybe it is it's kind of I'm like I was really hoping that you and I would work together on this, and I'm just so glad that we did.